That was pretty cool.
Thank you. And I was very happy with how it came out.
I like that.
Thank you, Canva, for that.
Yeah. All right.
I'm struggling to find a cool backdrop for that title sequence.
Oh, look, the water moves. I just noticed that.
Yeah,
in the background.
I actually thought it was like stationary until I took a closer look, and it actually does move. So
yeah, I didn't notice that before either. That's pretty cool.
That works.
All right.
Cool.
Got to give a second for the notification to go out. It will go out.
Yeah. I have my phone up as well just to see what it's like, and it just sent out a notification. So
yeah,
we'll give it a couple of moments. Have some people come in. How's your Sunday going?
It took a turn. It took a turn. So I slept in a tiny bit.
That's good.
And what did I do first? I cooked breakfast. And about time Dee Dee showed up. Jeez.
Hey, Dee Dee.
And I watched a little bit of YouTube, did some stuff on the computer, did some club stuff, ran to the firehouse for a little bit. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to do something major. A big, huge change is going on right over there where my fish rack is. It is huge. It is scary.
Are you in the liberty of indulging us, or is this a secret right now?
You'll have to find out at 7 p.m. tomorrow night.
Okay. I can live with that. I can live with that. Hey, Jenna.
Look at that. You got Dee Dee here. You got Jenna. You got Steven.
I know. Welcome, welcome. Thank you very much for coming.
But there is a huge change taking place right now. It's very scary. I'm a nervous wreck.
Uh-oh.
I'm not very comfortable with it.
Don't worry, Scottie. You're a brave boy. You can do this.
I know. I know. It's made me want to engage in my Swedish fish. My comfort.
I know. It's a comfort food. It's a comfort food. Very nothing.
But it will be done by tomorrow at 7 p.m. I am not getting married yet that I know of. Hannah?
If he was, he'd be sending me an invite. I hope, at least.
Who said I'm going to invite anybody?
Wow, that's a dagger right here, Scottie. That's a dagger right here.
Maybe it's going to be a courthouse wedding.
You still invite people.
Oh, really?
Yeah. From what I've heard, I don't know. I've never been to a courthouse wedding.
Me neither. So what's going on with you?
Nothing much. I was at the first time ever. I was at the aquarium, the Aquarium Society of Lancaster County, and
also known as the Aquarium Club of Lancaster County.
That I always get it wrong. I apologize. I think in the Keystone Clash video that I did, I think I got it wrong that time too, and I was like, so I had to put it in text on the bottom after I remembered what it's actually called, and I got it wrong this time too. But yeah, so I went to the holiday party yesterday for the first time ever, and I had a blast. Got to see some familiar faces like yourself. And the only reason I was able to go was because I was off work. So, you can thank Scottie.
And how bad was the drive?
It was not as bad, but it was like an hour 37, almost hour 40-minute drive.
That's not bad.
But I don't like driving too long if I have to.
Yeah, me neither. But
yeah, but besides the driving, I enjoyed it. It was fun. I got to hang out with some people I know. Got to help out with the auction, which I always enjoy
Yeah,
because it's always fun and funny.
that was a huge auction.
It was a huge auction, and
That was a huge auction. I got to check to see if it's a record for us. I don't think it's first place for number of lots, but I have a strong suspicion that financially it was our biggest auction we've ever had.
do you have a number of how many lots there were by any chance?
Talk for a minute. I'll have it in a second.
Sure. But anyway, so welcome everybody. Bear with us if things are going not as planned. This is my first ever live stream, which is why I asked Scottie to join me.
You're
Because
brave.
he has because he's been doing this more than I have. And one of the benefits of knowing people. So I asked him, I was like, "Hey Scottie, I'm finally doing my first ever live stream. Would you do me the honor of being my first guest on?" And he was absolutely happy to do so. So thank you, Scottie, for joining us here.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
while Scottie pulls up that basically this is just going to be a casual live stream for you to get to know me and Scottie, for me to get to know the community. We're gonna briefly talk about how we got into the aquarium hobby. If you guys want to chime into the comment section there, let us know what got you into the hobby, some of the things you've learned. That's something that me and Scottie are gonna talk about, is what mistakes we've made, because I promise you, I call myself Professor FishTanks, but this professor has made a lot of mistakes when I first got into the hobby. But yeah, it's just
Usama, tell us a little bit about yourself, because we've seen you at the Clash, we've seen you in chats, but I don't know that many people really know about you and all that you do. Being on the jerseys, there's a few clubs that I know you're not able to go to very often that are near you, but realistically, you are really big into the hobby in a couple of different ways.
Yeah, so I've been in the hobby personally since middle school. I'm 27 now, so but I've been in the hobby since middle school. But even before then, like I've been exposed to aquariums and fish tanks because my dad and my uncle were into it. They kept fish in the house. Um, if I look back at how we used to maintain, like my dad and uncle used to maintain those tanks, I'd be pulling my hair out right now.
I
Wasn't
can't do
how,
that.
yeah. Um, but yeah, so I've been exposed since I guess a kid in the hobby. Growing up with my grandfather who's now passed, we would watch, underwater ocean documentaries, things like that. That's actually what got me into marine biology. So I am a marine biologist. I went to school for marine science with a concentration in marine biology. I'm actually going back to school this coming next year in semester, so to hopefully finish off my studies.
And what will
Um,
that be? Is it a different degree, or what are you going for?
no, it's the same thing. I'm just finishing it up.
Okay.
Um, and then my goal is after that to work a little bit, things like that, take a little bit of a breather, and then going for hopefully grad school. So my goal is either to go for my master's in aquaculture or my PhD in coral reef ecology and conservation, depending on which program I get into. I don't know, we'll
Wow.
see. um but yeah, but I've been that got me into marine biology. And then I asked, because the whole reason I got into marine biology was because of the aquarium hobby. When I first got my first ever aquarium was when I was living overseas in Pakistan, and for my birthday, I discovered that there was a aquarium shop like really close to my house, like a couple of blocks away, and I would always walk over there and just hang out. And I asked my mom, I was like, can I have a fish tank? And interesting fact, in Pakistan, you do not get ready-made aquariums like the one behind me. They actually custom make it for you with glass and silicone, and even
That's
the
awesome.
canopy and stands are even different. I actually have a picture of my first ever tank on my Instagram, Professor FishTanks. But yeah, that was my first ever aquarium, and getting into the hobby, actually studying the hobby, learning how to take care of the fish, the filtration, all that stuff got me into searching for a career that would at least allow me to work with fish. I was obsessed with fish. I was obsessed with underwater life.
Hmm.
And I was just doing some research, and the first thing that popped up was a marine biologist. And so I went further from there, and told my parents. And being South Asian parents, they were not happy, um, but they were reluctant enough to let me. It was either that or being a film composer, and they were like, "Absolutely not! You're doing marine biology." So that's what I did. And so I went to school for marine biology. And interesting enough, during my years in school, I found out that there were other people around my age who were just as much into the hobby as I was, which prompted me to start the Stockton University Aquarium and Aquaculture Club, which is I believe, the only student-run aquarium club in at least the Northeast. I don't know if
Nice.
so. I know there are other clubs in like schools, high schools, and things like that. This is, I believe, the only university student-run aquarium club. They specialize in aquaculture, ornamental, and seafood, as well as ornamental, private, and public aquaria. So
Wow.
we do a lot of, and it's educational based, it's scientific
Hmm.
based. So we are a natural science and mathematics organization. So what we do is we take what we know of the hobby and implement it in research and actual scientific projects. We have a lab at our field station. It used to be an aquaculture laboratory, but they started to tear it down to make room for our oceanography department to house their equipment there. And when we started the club, we actually wanted to take advantage of the laboratory, and we basically saved it. We went to our faculty advisor, and we went to the laboratory supervisor, and even the dean. We even involved the dean of our school at the time, and we basically told him, it was like, look, we know the issue right now is lack of manpower to maintain this lab. Let the club maintain it. You'll still supervise it, obviously, but let the club maintain it and allow us to do what we need to do. And
Hmm.
they were like, sure, go at it. The problem is by the time we got to that lab, half of that lab was already converted to a regular laboratory.
That's a
And
shame.
unfortunately, because of that, they don't want a lot of salt water or water in general around the equipment. So we are confined to one section of that laboratory at a very
Yeah.
small footprint to
Yeah.
basically do what we need to do, which is, for what we want to do, is not ideal. Our goal was to actually showcase the school that this lab has merit, this lab has use. And now that there's a whole organization dedicated to maintaining it, you know, I think, we need to bring that laboratory back. And since 2018 is when we started the club, we're still in that battle of
Yeah.
trying to convince the faculty to use that laboratory to actually contact us to get help with research. So if a faculty member wants to do research where they need live specimens,
Hmm.
but they don't really know how to maintain them or how to take care of them, we as the aquarium club will actually do the research, and advise you on what equipment we need, to acquire the animals. And not only that, we will provide our services. We have a whole separate team dedicated to that laboratory who will maintain the organisms for you while you do your study, to make sure that the organisms are okay, they're safe. There's a whole protocol that we have to go through, if we're using vertebrate animals versus invertebrates. And so everybody that's been working in that lab had to get training for that. And so, we've been trying to encourage faculty, especially in the marine science department, the marine biology department, to get that interest. And we actually became very well known in the school because we actually created our first ever project. It's our coral aquaculture farm. So we actually aquaculture coral at the lab, and that allows a lot of our marine biology faculty who have curricula that includes corals. They can actually bring their classes, and they have bring their classes to the lab to showcase these corals, which has been very, very beneficial to us. But we're not to the point where we want to be. And it's going to be very difficult because the school right now isn't focusing on facilities that already exist. They're looking to expand. And so a lot of the money is going there versus focusing on the facilities we have. And also the program is also has been gearing more towards oceanography because there's a lot more job opportunities in oceanography.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the problem, at least that I've noticed, is that they're starting to not necessarily neglect, but put more focus on oceanography and not more on the marine biology students' needs.
Right.
And that laboratory, we as the marine biology students, we want that laboratory so we can house live specimens to study.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to emphasize. And so, and that's one of my biggest interests as a career point is to actually implement scientific husbandry. So how we because a lot of the stuff we know as hobbyists, either we discovered stuff and gave it to the scientific world, or most importantly, especially if you go back in early aquarium hobby or aquarium husbandry history, a lot of what we know, especially in the saltwater aspect, came from the science world. So scientists and researchers and public aquariums trying to keep specific specimens in aquaria, in tanks, and writing down, making actual research papers on how they maintain them. A lot of this stuff, which is actually public domain, you can actually look it up and take a look at it. And we acquired that knowledge and then implemented it into home aquaria, which I always find fascinating.
Let me stop you for a second, Usama. Speaking of research and stuff like that, you have someone famous in your chat right now. I'm not sure if you know who that is or not.
I do. Is it freshwater ichthyology?
Yes, it is. Yeah. It is Rebecca herself, and extremely smart and big into research in the hobby for sure, and also going to be a speaker at the Keystone Clash.
I know. Congratulations. Yeah, no, I actually went on her website because I believe she was the one that had the lapel pins. And
no.
Was it? Was it?
You're thinking of Lily ichthyology.
Yes, that's probably it.
You're thinking of Lily.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, but yeah, no, I did see Rebecca on the list, and so that was very good to see. Congratulations.
Yes, and I definitely recommend you subscribe to her channel as well. And I mean, she has tons of videos and so much information. So much information.
I always love chatting with other colleagues in the ichthyology world. I actually had to take an ichthyology class, which was very, very tough, but it was fun as well. I actually recently reached out to the professor who teaches that class. He's also my preceptor or mentor. And I actually had to ask him to give me a master list of scientific names that we had to study in the class because I wanted to brush up on it.
Nice.
And he was like, yeah, actually, I'm good at the I don't know. He was like, I don't know if you know, but the list is actually updated, so I'm gonna because some of the names changed.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Rebecca can attest to this. You know, we study these scientific names, these families, these groups, these genuses, and then the next year we find out that the names have changed. So we have to go back and read and memorize these words.
Now you told us about how you got in the hobby and your work at school and everything.
Mm-hmm.
How did Atlantic Aquariums start up? How did you start that up? How long? What are your goals with it? And because it's obviously a huge part of your life as well.
Yeah. So like I said, I've been in the hobby since middle school, and it was always a passion of mine or a goal of mine to make it into a career. Um, Not necessarily in terms of, I'm gonna make tons of money doing this. It's actually just passion. Um, you know, in 2020 during COVID, believe it or not. I actually started Atlantic Aquariums. It's an online predominantly store. However, we do vend at the Keystone Clash. Um, and I think this year, in 2023, was, I believe, the third year Atlantic Aquariums was at the Keystone Clash, and we've already signed up for the 2024. So
Mm-hmm.
if you guys, hopefully you guys will be coming to the 2024 Keystone Clash, which is when, Scotty?
October 4th, 5th, and 6th, I think.
Yes.
Sounds good to me.
At Morgantown Bay. So if you guys haven't checked it out, please check it out. It is a great place to be. Every single person there is in the hobby, and for those of you who do know me, I talk fish and aquariums like that. So I have social anxiety, but if you really want to be my friend and get to know me, talk about fish will be good. And Keystone Clash has really helped me with that. It's great for me to connect with people that are like-minded, just like me. And but yeah, so Atlantic Aquariums is a aquarium specialty online store. We specialize in freshwater, saltwater, ponds, paludariums, anything that lives in or around water. I specialize in. And the goal with the store, with this business, was, what the motto is: bringing fish keeping to a science. Every single thing that you see on the website, I have used one way or another on my tanks and have had great success with. What I use isn't going to work with everybody. So, and that's why I tend to have a variety of stuff. But I always love when people reach out to me and ask me, in terms of like, hey, I have this or I have this. What would work best with this? Scotty, I know you've asked me a lot in terms of plans. Hey, I have this. What would work best with that? And I love
Mhm.
when people do that, because I can then help you out as best as I can. I'm by no means an absolute expert. I learn every single day. Um, but that was my goal, was to create an aquarium store that I would want to go to, and to have a business model as an owner, how I would like other aquarium stores to treat their customers or their guests. And and it's an interesting, as Professor FishTanks, one of the things I like to call my fellow aquarium enthusiasts are aquarium scientists. We're aquarium scientists, whether we like science or not. It is a science. Water quality, water chemistry, the biology, the engineering, um, and so I call myself an aquarium scientist. I call my fellow aquarium hobbyist aquarium scientists. We're all aquarium scientists. So that was a business plan of me with Atlantic Aquariums, to bring my knowledge as a scientist, or my experience as a scientist, and my love for the aquarium hobby together, and actually go out, and especially with new products that might come out. I love when new products come out, because then I try to get them and actually test them out to see if how well they do in a
Mhm.
form of, in terms of a scientific analysis. Let's test them out. Let's see if they actually do what they claim to do. And like I said, not everything is gonna work with everybody. If I get something in and I test it out, and then I say, it didn't really do well for me, but somebody might say in the comments, especially, hey, but it did work for me. I was like, well, that's good. Maybe I did something wrong. So let's hear how you went about it. And I love doing that as well. And I got that has helped me a lot in as a business owner as well, especially connecting with other fellow members of the aquarium industry, where I have learned quite a lot. As a matter of fact, this past Keystone Clash, I got to meet the Garden of Eder, and we
Mm-hmm.
talked about Tropica. We talked about Tropica plants, and
It's his
um,
birthday.
I'm sorry.
It's his birthday.
Oh, happy birthday! That's really great. But yes, we were talking about Tropica plants because you know, unfortunately they know the Tropica plants never really did very good with for him, but they've been doing well for me. So we were just talking about, about that, and then we talked about some of the plans he has with his plant culturing and things like that, and even talked about collaborating at some point, which is really
Mm-hmm.
cool. And I'm
Nice.
excited. Yeah. So, and that's one of the benefits. That's one of the reasons I love going to the Keystone Clash is networking. I love to network. I love to
Yeah.
learn from, especially from others who have been in the industry more longer than I have,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because me getting into the aquarium industry, I had nobody to show me the ropes. My dad owns a business, but we, our family owns convenience stores. Nobody has ever kept a pet store. So it was literally me just doing the research, trying to figure out, looking up New Jersey laws because we're based in New Jersey, on what is required, which interesting enough, there's not a lot for aquarium stores here in New Jersey in terms of
Right.
resources. Um, but yeah, so so I had to learn from the bottom and to
Yeah.
get to where, and I'm still learning. There's still things I need to improve. Um, and so um, you know, but it's going great. It hasn't been going as well as I was hoping for it, but we're getting there. It's a slow, and that's one of the things that I talked to Blake about, Blake Stevens, because he's now a fellow aquarium business owner, and I actually
Yeah. Yeah.
commented, welcome. I was like, welcome to the family, buddy. Good luck. But no, I told him because if we've been following Blake's journey in the industry, things aren't really going as planned, which happens. And I told Blake, I was like, just keep going, don't stop, because it's just a hurdle, and you'll get there. And I even told him, I said, if you need any help, especially with livestock plants,
Mm-hmm.
things like that, if you want to, I'm more than happy to work with you to make like a list of what of species and things like that. And I told him, I said, just shoot me a message, and I'll help in any way I can. Even though
Something that I'm learning here is that Tropica is the best quality available in the UK. I didn't even know they went that
it
far.
it is,
And
yeah. So
also Atkins is here. Ian's here. Um, he's a saltwater guy. And Dee Dee networked at the Clash too. Yep. I was able to give her a hug. And Atkins wants to see your coral lab at school.
cool. Well, Atkins, if you just Google Stockton Aquarium and Aquaculture Club, or if you go to fishfam.link and go to the Find Clubs tab and type that in, they'll pop up, and then you can go to the website, our club website, which is through the school. There is a section there, or a link there to the Coral Lab or the
Nice.
Coral Farm, which will give you more information about it. And you can always reach out to the club as well. We're always looking for support. Like I said, the lab is a student-run lab. It is funded by the club, and we obviously are a nonprofit organization, so we are always looking for collaboration, looking for financial support, or product support. Like if you are somebody who grows corals and you want to donate some corals, we're always happy to keep to gain those corals. Or if you have any form of expertise. Recently we've been having some issues with our monitoring system. We use the Neptune Apex. If any of you are saltwater people, you've definitely heard of it. We've been having some issues with that, and but we've been reaching out to the community, especially in the Neptune area community, and learning from trying to figure out what are we doing wrong, and it's always a learning curve. So, but yeah, if any of you want to check it out, please do. There is a way for you to donate if you would like to the farm specifically. All that can be found on their website, or just reach out to them. The email is also there. And
Aquarium Club of Lancaster County has money ready for you. We just need the form.
I reached out, so I'm no longer the president of the club.
No.
Yeah, so but I emailed them and I texted the current e-board, and I was like, hey, I talked to my successor. She knew about it, but she's graduated now as well. And I mentioned to them, I was like, we have this club, this aquarium club that does offer donations to programs. And
Aquatic Life Education Fund.
yes. And so I forwarded to them, and they said that they'll look into it. So I mean, I'm going back to school this coming semester, so I'll mention it to them again if I have to.
Yeah, it's burning a hole in our pocket.
Yeah, that's great.
And you have Liquid Zoo here, who is actually the owner, Matt, of FishFam.link.
Ah, welcome. And I see
He's a nice guy.
Freshwater Theology just mentioned. Tropica has been here for years. I sold them 2017 to 2019 till I moved store. Yeah, as a matter of fact, Tropica. So for those of you, here's a little history lesson for you because I love Tropica. Tropica is a European company, I believe German. And
Really?
as a matter of fact, if you guys are familiar with Java fern Windelove is named, that fern is named after the founder of Tropica.
Really?
Yes. So here's a cool thing for you. You'd be surprised how many plants that we have in the hobby he discovered. And and like Cryptocoryne tropica is named after the company Tropica because Windelove discovered it. Yeah, he's very big in the aquarium plant world in terms of discovering a lot of these plants that we have in the hobby. I believe H. Cuba, which is a carpeting plant, which was found in Cuba, was found by Windelov. So it's a really cool thing. But yeah, it's a German company, and they've been very active in Europe. And then I believe in roughly around the time that Rebecca is saying that she sold the plants is when Tropica North America started. So it's based in Canada, British Columbia, Canada, and but they distribute to not only Canada but the U.S. So they're the North America hub. And
interesting.
It's interesting because Tropica is actually what started Atlantic Aquariums, believe it or not, because at the time I started the business, Tropica wasn't really here in the US. It wasn't really sold in the US. And so and I've used like Tropica's 1-2 grow tissue culture plants, and I absolutely love them. As a matter of fact, I actually had the Denner Lake Shrimp King Cube tank. It used to be like right up here, and that tank had old Tropica tissue culture plants. That's all it was. And there was like a CO2. I also had CO2 on there because I had some intermediate to advanced level plants, and I wanted to make sure they had the best chance. And they went crazy. And so I talked with my parents. I was like, hey, there's this company that I've been using their products, and it's not really situated in the US yet, and I want to sell their stuff, and I want to start the business. And so that's it. It started with me just selling Tropica plants with the 1-2 grow tissue culture. And then once I started having tank space available for potted plants, I started getting in the Tropica potted. Unfortunately, not all plants on the Tropica list, if you go to their website, not all of those plants are available to the US market because of customs. So, like for example, the Nymphoides Zenkeri, the tiger lotus, is not available to U.S. retailers from Tropica. So I have to source that from Florida, actually, believe it or not. So not all the plants that I have on the website are from Tropica, but I am a Tropica dealer. I do keep Tropica, not only their plants, but their plant care. So their tweezers, spring scissors. I actually use their soil. The tank right behind me uses Tropica soil. Um, they just came out with a new product. It's called Tropica CO2 Bio. It's basically a bottle where you put a medium in, and it reacts and it produces CO2. And then it's great for people who are getting into CO2 aquariums, so into high tech aquariums, and aren't really confident with the metal regulated CO2 yet. That's a great way to start. It's great for beginner to intermediate level plants, and it lasts you about 60 days. Um, and so that's the latest thing that they came out with. But that's how Atlantic Aquarium started, was with Tropica, and which is why I was very excited when they sponsored the aquascaping competition this year for at Keystone Clash.
Mm-hmm.
And But yeah, I have a good working relationship. Renee, he's the manager of the North America branch, and every time I have an issue or a question, I'll shoot Tropica an email, and within like a day they get back to me, which is really cool. And so if you haven't used Tropica plants, I strongly recommend trying them out, because especially the tissue culture. Dee Dee can attest to this. Dee Dee loves the tissue culture plants. Um, but you get a lot in a small cup for what you're
Mm-hmm.
paying for. So,
And it's sterile, which is even better.
girl, no disease, no algae, no pests, nothing.
Yep.
So if you're setting up a brand new tank and you use just the tissue culture plants, um, you have the best chance of not getting anything in that tank. Keep in mind, and this is interesting, Scotty, because George Farmer, who works with Tropica, he's also a
Yeah.
well-known aquascaper. As a matter of fact, a lot of what I know about aquascaping is from George, so
Mm-hmm.
I have to give George credit. But he mentioned something interesting on Tropica's website, or on their one of their live streams. He said that with the 1-2-grow tissue culture, think of them as baby plants. They're
Mm-hmm.
just starting off as baby plants. Now, also another thing, Tropica keeps almost all of their plants, their tissue culture plants, in a liquid medium as opposed to a gel, which means that they're already accustomed to aquatic life. So
Which is good.
you're not gonna get a lot of melting or anything like that. And so what he said was, um, think of treat them as baby plants. So when you plant them in a nutrient-rich substrate. If you need to add nutrition capsules, add that. Fertilize as well, at least for the beginning portion. Once you start seeing the plants start to really take off and grow, then back off on the fertilization and nutrients and things like that. If you have CO2 available, use that as well, just to give them that initial boost. But once you see that they've situated and they're starting to grow, then you're good to go. And I thought of that, and I actually implemented it, and it worked very well. And I was like, that's a very smart observation. And ever since then, whenever I have people ask me about the Tropica tissue cultures, I always make sure to mention that. I was like, because I know there are people that are a bit hesitant to get tissue cultures, or they've had bad experiences with tissue culture. So I always encourage them. I was like, try again, but try it with this technique and see how it
Mm-hmm.
does for you. Because I've had no issues with the Tropica tissue culture, and so I always recommend, if you're looking into tissue culture, take a look at Tropica. It's a really great brand. Um, Thank you, Dee Dee, and you're a very, very kind lady.
She's a nice lady.
She is a nice lady. As a man, she's very nice when I notice how much of the plants she ordered from me just recently. So, Dee, next time I meet you, I'm gonna give you a big hug.
She gives
Um,
good hugs. I recommend it.
she does. She does. And but yeah, so, and that's another thing, since Dee Dee's in the chat. Like, if you see something on the website that's not in stock, just shoot me an email and I can see if I can get it in. And I try to keep up with demand. So if there's a
Yeah.
particular plant you're looking for and I can get it in, I will get it in. It might take a little bit, but I do get the stuff in. So, but
Steven's doing an order right now.
oh, thank you. But yeah, so the whole and this is where I am now is just enjoying the hobby as much as I can, not letting it tire me out, because it can, to be honest with you, and for those of us who have multiple tank syndrome can attest to this, it can get very tiring. There are days where you're like, I'm not gonna do a water change, hint hint, Scotty. um
Mm.
and and
I'll have you know, at right this second, I have a tank that is half empty because I've been draining water.
Okay, I'm happy. I'm good. I always promote water changes, even
I'm
if it's
allergic.
even if it's not frequent. I know other people have different views about it. I always do weekly water changes, and my tanks look very well. So I do it. It doesn't, like I said, it might not work for everybody. Others might be able to get away with doing less frequent water changes and keep at it. One of the big things and Scotty, you might agree with me on this, is consistency is key. If something is working well for you, try your best to keep it as consistent as possible. Don't change anything.
I agree 100%. Not doing water changes is working for me. I'm not doing it.
Well, you're doing water changes. You're just not doing them as frequently enough.
Yeah, once a month if they're lucky. One thing I want to circle back on, because I did the research, so now I got to tell you. I think we had 289 lots yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a lot. I mean, you can kind of tell with how the tables were integrated. It was like a zoo.
I had to think out of the box there.
Yeah.
Did you buy anything yesterday? I know you bid on a few things, but stuff was going so high.
Yes, and I was very upset because I wanted shrimp and you were bidding them very high, Scotty.
No. Rephrase that. I was not bidding them
Or
high.
you were auctioning them off very
Yes.
high.
Yes.
Because I wanted cherry shrimp for this tank behind me, and there were a few lots there, but every lot you started with like 10 or 15 or whatever, and if you guys were at the thing, you may have seen me in the corner stomping my feet. I was like, oh my god, come on, man! But
it was crazy how high stuff was going yesterday.
No,
it was insane.
I don't know if you remember off the top of your head, but what was the highest bid and what item? Do you remember?
Yeah, actually I do, because I was talking with Jennifer Silverman from Small World Aquatics this morning. It was one of her items. It was a Corydoras that I had not heard of. Let me scroll up right here. I have it right here.
Was it the false bandit one, something like that?
Yes,
yeah,
it was those Melanie false bandit Corydoras, a group of 6 of them. It went for $65.
Wow. I think I remember those because I was the one that brought them up, and I was looking at them through the bag, and I was like, these guys look really cool. Actually, when I was looking through the lots before the auction started, because there were a few, I was convincing myself not to buy fish because, let's be honest, I don't have space for fish, but you can't help it. So it was interesting. It was those Corys, and then there was the Ginga or something like that guppy. I can't remember the exact.
Yep, Ginga guppy.
Ginga guppy. I wanted those, and those also were auctioned off at a higher price. So I was like, nope, not doing that.
Everything was. It was insane.
Yeah, a lot of those things went pretty high up, and it's interesting. Some of the items which should have gone pretty high up did not. Which,
correct.
Yeah,
it's insane, because, and that's how auctions are. Is some stuff goes dirt cheap, some stuff goes ridiculously high. I told Jen this morning. I've taken 4 microworm cultures to an auction before and made $8. $2 a piece is what they would go for. Yesterday, she took one, or she took a few, but one alone went for $10. for a microworm culture. I was
Wow.
shocked. I think she had 5 of them and made $30.
Yeah, no,
I
that's
couldn't believe it. I
yeah.
could not believe it. It was insane.
Yeah,
It
that
was
was I
absolutely
was
insane.
amazed myself, especially with like live foods, live cultures. Like
Yeah.
sometimes how much I think even at the Clash, certain live foods had went really, really high up. So I was like, whoever's culturing them is making bank with that.
Yeah, really. So what did you get anything or no?
I did. Hang on, I have it right here. Oy.
While you're looking, welcome in, Big Cat.
Yes, yes. If you guys are just popping in, thank you very much for coming. So yeah. So I got this is actually a funny story. So I got the Lake to Land Aquatics acclimator,
Oh
dripper
yeah, yeah,
acclimator.
yeah.
And it's interesting because when this was being auctioned off, there was I can't remember his name. He had like a beard, a white beard. He actually took over you for auctioneering for a bit. Well, do
Mike
you
Mole, the treasurer.
know?
Yeah.
Yes. When this was being auctioned off, he looked at the screen. He was like, "Who drip acclimates their fish?" Or like, "Who drip acclimates?" And I was right behind him, and I was like, "I do." And he looks at me. He's like, "You do?" I was like, "Yeah." For like, if you have sensitive fish,
Yeah.
Neocaridina or not Neocaridina, Caridina shrimp. For those of you who are saltwater people, we always drip acclimate.
Yeah.
So I do drip acclimate. Almost every fish I have here, I actually drip acclimate it because I'm just that paranoid. I want to make sure that the fish aren't being too stressed, and that the water they're adjusting to the water parameters at a slower pace. If you're getting fish or livestock in from afar, let's say you're ordering them from across the country, even importing them in, I would not waste time drip acclimating them and just put them into where they need to be because they want to get out of that water as much as
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Because with drip acclimating, you're waiting at least 30 to an hour is the recommended time frame to wait for drip acclimating. Basically, whatever the level water in the container is before drip acclimating, you want to double it.
Hmm.
And so it can take time. If you're just getting fish in from your local aquarium store, then by all means drip acclimate. But if you're getting stuff from afar for freshwater, I wouldn't bother with drip acclimation. However, if you are doing saltwater, then you do want to do that just to be on the safe side. Um, yeah, so like Rebecca's mentioning, I've lost a lot of fishes drip acclimating. Like I said, it just depends. It depends on the species. It depends on how they're looking. It depends on time. There's a lot of factors to it, and it's not going to work for every single species or every single time. So it just depends on your intuition as the hobbyist. Um, to see if it even is if it's not needed, by all means don't do it. Okay, so just do as however you acclimate it, temperature acclimate, all that stuff. um I always drip acclimate and I've never really had any issues, so I always drip acclimate. I What I do is I'll take a airline hose and I'll siphon that and then tie a knot, and then that'll drip it.
Yeah.
This kind of changes it because it has a holder, so
Yeah.
I can put the line in to the tank with that holder and not have it pop out. Because when I was acclimating some guppies to put in here, I actually had to grab because this is an open top right now, but it does come with a lid, so I had to grab the lid and kind of jam the hose in the
To hold
airline
it.
to hold it, because I knew if I let it go, it's just gonna plop out, and it's happened quite a bunch of times. And so with this, it kind of changes that, and also it has a little dowel, so that blue thing right here, the line goes through it, and then you just uh, scroll it,
It's
I guess.
it's it's very similar, if not exactly the same, to an IV drip.
Yes, exactly. I think it's based off of the IV drip.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so you can control the rate of how fast you want the water to drip. With
Yep.
salt water, that is a criteria. It depends on the species of fish, sensitivity, things like that, depending on how fast you want the drip to acclimate. But yeah, so this is one thing that I got. And then me being a plant guy, I couldn't resist, and I got the Alternanthera reneki variegated.
Oh, you're the one that outbid me on that? You
Yeah.
loser.
Wait, where are you bidding on this?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't notice. Yeah, so I got that, and
That
I
is one
also
of my
got,
favorite plants. I
yeah,
think I got it from you as a tissue culture.
yeah, you got the mini. You got the Alternanthera renekii mini.
Oh.
Yes. Speaking of which, how is that
Mama,
plant doing?
I gotta hop off.
Oh, okay.
I
Sorry about
have
that.
a clash meeting. But
All right.
but it was a fun first stream for sure. I'll let you keep going though. You can talk for 3 more hours.
Nah, I think I'm just gonna be here for another 10 minutes, and then we'll call it a day. But thank you very much, Scotty.
Thank
Hopefully,
you for having me.
yep. Hopefully, we'll do a live stream again another time.
Sounds good. Bye everyone. How do I get off of this thing? There we go.
But so I got those two things, and then I got some fish bags because I ran out of fish bags. I like to recycle fish bags to use whenever somebody places an order for potted plants. I reuse bags that I have, um, just my way of recycling, I guess you can say. And I ran out of them, so I was like, I hope that they have some bags there at the club party, and they did. So I ended up buying two of those. So it worked out very fine for me. But yeah, so sorry, I'm just looking through the comments just to see if they're to point, because I haven't been focusing on the comments, and I've apologized. But yeah, so Jenna's mentioning, since someone didn't get the cherry shrimp in the auction, is Scotty going to bring some cherry shrimp to work for him? Maybe. I mean, he does have a cherry shrimp in his office. I think it's a Bloody Mary or something like that. But yeah, he does have a small tank at work. Those of you who don't know, I work with Scotty at the public aquarium, so I get to see him from time to time. But yeah, Dee Dee has a dripper for every shrimp tank. Yep, that's a good point. So anything that can self poison is much more likely to being dripped. For example, Corridora. Yeah, they have been there for maybe 2 days or more. Yeah, yep, that is very true, Rebecca. But so Atkins is asking, do you drip acclimate coral? So that's a good question. So in our lab, so at the lab that I was talking about earlier, we do drip acclimate our coral. It just depends. What we do is we do dip the coral. So it's for those of you non saltwater people, coral tend to have hitchhikers on them. So it's you can think of it in a way of doing a dilute bleach for plants to get rid of any hitchhikers on there. We dip coral to get rid of any hitchhikers there. And so we do definitely dip. It is part of our protocol, but dripping is also part of our protocol. It just depends. But just to be on the safe side, we will do it. I use a ball valve and airline tubing. Yeah, yep, that can work. Nothing wrong with DIYing. But and this is also another good point. Like many discuss in Pleco Lurcaria owners, I do a lot of water changes. Yeah, it's interesting because with Plecos, obviously are very messy, and discus, you're feeding heavily. You're feeding them like beef heart and things like that. And so for fish like that, you definitely want to do water changes just to maintain optimal water quality, especially with discus, because they can be finicky. Um, but yeah. Yes, Atkins. Everybody should dip. Yep, I agree. But yeah. Anyway, hope everybody has been having a great Sunday. Um, I was in a hurry because I actually teach Sunday school. So the moment I got done with Sunday school, I had to rush over here because it is a 30-minute drive and make sure everything is working right. But but yeah. But yeah, so for those of you who are new, so the goal with the live stream, so if you're new to the channel, first of all, make sure you subscribe. It means a lot because it gives me confidence to keep doing this. But um my goal with this channel, and you can kind of tell by the name of the channel, Professor FishTanks. So I love educating. I'm an educator and I love to educate. So a lot of what my um goals is with this channel is in that realm of educating, going, in the nitty gritty of the science of our hobby, whether it's in private practice or in public aquaria, understanding how stuff worked, how the a lot of the equipment we use works, the history behind a lot of the equipment, the practices that we do. I understand that everybody does things a little differently, but there are basic things that we all know as hobbyists that we do, and to kind of look into that. I am working on two videos coming up. One is going to be a rescape of the Fluval Beta tank. That's a newer tank that they came out with. I'm going to be doing a rescape on that because it right now it's looking very disgusting and I'm not pleased with it, and I know I can do better on it. So there's going to be a video on that or a series on that, and I'm also working on a video, basically going into the world of air pumps. So the engineering behind it, seeing how air pumps work, the different types of air pumps, understanding head pressure, how to choose the best air pump for you, why do you need an air pump, things like that. So if anybody has any knowledge or expertise in that area, please reach out to me because I can use the help. Um, but yeah, so it's going to be basically a lecture, if you will, on that. And that's how the channel normally will be. However, with live streams, it's basically going to be more of a just a Q&A, just talking about the hobby, different aspects of it. There might be topics, especially if I'm having a guest with me. We might have a topic set in place for that, but it'll basically be a way for you guys to ask any questions that you might have, or I'll talk about something that happened here, and kind of go into that. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the live stream. Again, I appreciate everybody coming to the first one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Scottie unfortunately wasn't able to talk about his experiences in the hobby, which was the whole point. Um, but if you guys know me, I tend to blabber a lot, so I do apologize. But I am gonna get Scottie back on a live stream, hopefully at some point, and have him talk more than me. But yeah, he's a good supporter of mine. He's always pushing me and making sure I'm doing this or doing that. That's why he was asking the questions and basically interviewing me, but which was kind of him. But um but yeah, Atkins says I just temp acclimate, dip, and put them on the sand or corals. For corals, I haven't been dripping them for over 3 years now. That's interesting. um but yeah, we yeah, so that's a good point, Atkins. So the procedure that we have in our lab, so that's another thing, is like we have to go by our procedure because that's the protocol that we submit to the committee that oversees um research and labs and things like that. um because we have fish as well, so we also have to let them know what we do with the corals now, unfortunately. And part of that is they're acclimating. Basically, we temp acclimate them, so we'll float the bag in the tank, for a little bit, and then we take them out, and then it just depends. We'll either acclimate them or we will dip them. Um, and from the last time I've been at the lab, when we recently got some corals donated to us, I think we only dipped them. We didn't acclimate them because they didn't come from far away. Um, and they did perfectly fine. And it's important to note that a lot of so far the corals that we or I've worked with are like easy to maintain corals that are hardy. So a lot of your mushrooms, your euphyllias, things like that. And so I really didn't have a lot of issues with that. Um, and or I haven't seen any issues with that. But obviously, if you're keeping more harder to maintain corals or anything like that, and you're more than welcome to chime in and correct me if I'm wrong. But for those, I personally would acclimate them. I don't think it hurts to do so, and then dip them afterwards. But yeah. So and that's another point that I want to make because I am talking about saltwater and stuff like that. Um, you know, like I said, this channel is going to be both. There are times where I'll have a video posted for freshwater. There's videos I'll post for saltwaters because I am in both worlds. And so, but I think it's important for me to talk about both worlds. So if there's some of you who are only into freshwater and never really thought about saltwater or thought it was too intimidating, you might consider it after seeing a video of mine or discussing it in a live stream. Or if you're a saltwater only person and you're like, freshwater is boring, I strongly recommend you try freshwater because it is not boring. There's a whole world with freshwater stuff. But yeah, so I am over the hour mark. So with that being said, everybody, thank you again so much for coming. Um, you know, please like I said, make sure you subscribe to the channel, make sure you hit the notification bell. I'm not very consistent with posting videos. I apologize on that, but I am trying to get more into that stuff. So do bear with me. And again, thank you everybody. And hopefully I will see you guys on the next video. Take care.